All right, everyone. So I'm so happy you're here. We've got tons of people on the line. So, without further ado, let me go ahead, hit record, and we are ready to rock and roll. All right. So, hello, everyone. Welcome to our Chat and Learn today. I'm Nicole, and I will be hosting and moderating the Chat and Learn today with our very special guest, Lisa. And today we're going to be talking about taking that leap of faith and pursuing your dreams. And so for anyone who this is your first time joining, I just want to briefly introduce you to Power to Fly. We are a global platform connecting women, non-binary, non-gender conforming people and allies to companies that are dedicated to building diverse workforces. And so with that, I would love to introduce today's speaker. We are so excited to have you here today, Lisa. And I just a quick thing, please remember to jump off on mute. It's not to silence your voice, there's just a little bit of background noise. So I'll be making sure to go back in there, but just to let everyone know so we can make sure that everything runs smoothly. Lisa S. Jones is the Chief iMail Officer and founder of iMail. iMail is a marketing communications technology that brings email to life by embedding videos into the email and mobile experience to foster engagement and increase click-through rates over 60%. If you haven't checked out her product yet, I will drop a link in the chat and you can go and check out her product after today's conversation. Lisa has been recognized as Catalyst of the Year, Delta Airlines, Stevie Innovator of the Year Award, served on Microsoft's Preferred Supplier Board, member of the Coca-Cola Mentor Protege Program, and is currently enrolled at Harvard University for marketing management. Prior to Lisa becoming an entrepreneur and trailblazer for innovation, she had a career at NASA and served as corporate executive in the telecommunications sector. And so with that, Lisa, I want to pass it right over to you and see if you want to add anything else to today's conversation.
I just wanted to start out by saying hello. It is a pleasure to be here. It is a pleasure to see all of your faces here today. So thank you so much for the time. And I'm so excited about the journey that we're all about to undertake.
Perfect. Thank you, Lisa. Sometimes I get confused there with the mute, so thank you. Mm-hmm. And, I know that today we wanted to kick it off with a clip that is very special to you for your personal and professional development.
Yes.
So I'm just going to exit out of here and I'm going to pull up the clip and...
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
What an amazing clip. And so, Lisa, do you want to tell us a little bit about why that means so much to you?
Yes, I wanted to start with that clip as the very first segment that you all see, because this is a main driver for me personally in terms of motivation. When I hear Rocky Balboa talk, now keep in mind, I'm like the #1 Rocky Balboa fan. It doesn't matter if it's Rocky 1, Rocky 6, Rocky 7. So in hearing all of the messages that Rocky delivers in that one clip right there, it makes me think about the journey that all of us have to reach that destination spot of where we're going to next. So I thought about, let's start with a clip that's power packed, but also addresses one of the initial questions that I received in the chat. So thank you all for putting all of your questions in the chat. They are amazing questions. And so the first one asked me, how do I stay motivated and my next step in the journey if I'm not sure of my next step in the journey, or if I'm experiencing disappointment? How do I best move forward with that? And so one of the things that I do is I align myself with successful images around me. So those successful images, for example, Rocky Balboa is one segment, but also like this Forbes, I don't know if you can see my screen, but the Forbes magazine, So this is the billionaires list, right? So it could be 4 in the morning. It could be 2 in the afternoon, depending on if I'm working in the office or from home. I will have this sitting up like Carlos is talking to me, the billionaire here, or I'll have Oprah or something. You should think about some of the things that you have that you can have around you to be part of your audience. That's one of the areas that I do. When I need extra support, when I need mentorship, and maybe I'm the only one at the time, and I think about what resources do I have at my disposal, I'll play that Rocky clip, because when Rocky says, every day isn't sunshine and rainbows, we all know that every day is not sunshine and rainbows, but sometimes we need to be reminded of that. We need to be reminded of the power that we all represent. And so when he says you're better than that, so if I'm having a bad day, I'll play that clip, and it's like it'll hype me up to think that anything is possible, to know that anything is possible. And third, I would say, in answering this question of how do you stay motivated when you're isolated sometimes or you're lonely from building a brand, I would say that you also need to create an audience. That means that you would also seek mentorship, that you would make new friends. Some of these new friends you may not know. You may only know them online. So I'm very good friends with podcast speakers like Guy Raz, How I Built This, and learning from other innovators and other motivators out there so that I can stay motivated in my best mindset.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think it's always helpful when you can sort of visualize what other people do to stay motivated, right? Because I think, especially when you're building your own product and everything you've overcome, it can get really easy to get bogged down and to sort of lose sight of where you're going. So thank you for diving right in there and covering this, because it is so important, and especially during COVID, right? I mean, come on, it's been very hard to stay motivated, especially when you're inundated with so much bad news,
Exactly. And it can be very lonely. And so that's why it's so important to have a support network. It's so important for you to stay grounded, to stay true to your vision, and to know that this too shall pass, but also just to continue the journey forward, no matter what, good, bad, or indifferent. And like Rocky said, it's not how hard you can hit, it's about how many hits you can receive, get back up, and keep moving forward. And that's such a powerful thought, just that one thought alone, that keep going forward no matter what.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Lisa.
You're welcome.
And so, just to shout out again, for anyone who joined a little bit later, this conversation is about you. So we're going to go through these pre-submitted questions, but at any time, if you have any questions and you want to come off of mute or write in the chat, please feel free to do so. We really want to make sure that everyone gets the most out of this next hour. And so diving into this question, how did you get started in email, and how did you come up with your business idea?
So for me, I started in corporate America. I was working at NASA, and then I transitioned into the telecom industry. I've always known, even at a young age, that I wanted to become an entrepreneur, but I wasn't sure on the steps that I needed to take to achieve that. But sometimes in life, things will happen, on purpose or just by life's design, that forces you to reanalyze your life. And I remember one morning at 8:24, I'm originally from Alabama. I live in Atlanta. And I remember one morning at 8:24 a.m., I received a phone call from my oldest sister, and she had advised me that my mother had passed away at 61 in her home alone, basically. And I remember the impact that that one communication had on me. And so when I went to my mom's services, it was a graveside service. And so my vision was that I was going to get up and speak because I enjoy speaking. But on this day, it's my mother, she's passed away, and I'm full of emotion. And so while I was not on the program, I was just going to do this, but I wasn't able to do it. And I remember as people were going back to their cars, the services lasted, in my estimation, 7 minutes. And I remember thinking as I stood at my mom's site, I said, is this what life comes down to? Is it only 7 minutes? And I thought about the fact that my mom had given her life to 3 daughters that she had raised. We all grew up to become successful in master's degrees, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm thinking about those 7 minutes. So my last prayer to my mother was that when I go back to Atlanta, I apologize for not being able to speak on her behalf at that moment, but that I wanted to come back to Atlanta to create a company. I knew that at that second, that I wanted it to be global, and that it would be to make up, to create a legacy in her honor and to make up for those 7 minutes. So the way that I started iMail was I was thinking of a way that I could create a product to make up for those 7 minutes. So when I came back, I started thinking about communications, how that one communication changed my life. And so with that, I started saying, okay, maybe I'll start a communications business. What kind can I start? And I thought about how we communicate in email in different areas. And I said, so let me research what email looks like today. And what I noticed is, regardless if I signed up for 50 or 100 or 150 different email lists, all of the emails were the same. They were boring and unengaging. And I said to myself, wow, if I could create a product that brings email to life, so as soon as you click it, you're instantly engaged because the video is playing for you in your inbox as step one on mute, and then it could drive you for a call to action. And so with that, that started my journey into the email space. Email found me. I really didn't find it. We all use it, but I wanted to serve as a catalyst to create innovation worldwide, global, and also to make up for those 7 minutes for my mother.
What a touching story. And also, going to email, it's so true. So many of them are so boring, especially if you just subscribe to various retailers. They all look the same, and they have the same offers, and it's just like, where does it get interesting? And
exactly.
you've definitely done your research around this, more than me, but I think it takes about 10 seconds until somebody loses interest in what you're kind of showing, right? And so
it's like 5 seconds now, because we all want instant gratification, right?
Oh yeah, if I get a newsletter that's too long, I'm like, nope, don't have time for this. Let me just put this in the trash. So
right.
oh yes. So this is fantastic. And I know Melissa dropped the link. So after the chat, feel free, and I encourage you to go check out Lisa's product, because it's really incredible and it's changing the way that we view email. And so diving into this next question, how do you best deal with imposter syndrome?
So what's interesting about imposter syndrome, to be honest, I just came across the term myself maybe 2 months ago from a colleague. And so where I'd like to start with this question, for those who may know or who may not know, let's go with this, because I want to make sure I give you the official definition. It says, what is imposter syndrome? It's the internal experience of feeling like a phony. You feel as though at any moment you are going to be found out as a fraud, like you don't belong where you are, and that you only got there through luck. So I want to know, by the chat, I would love for you all to participate in the chat, or to feel free to come off mute. I want to know if anybody can relate to any of these feelings by a virtual show of hands as well. How many of you can relate to self-doubt, or feelings like you don't belong, that you're not good enough sometimes, you're downplaying your performance, maybe you're overachieving, sometimes you sabotage your own success, possibly, and a fear that you won't live up to your expectations. All of these signs are signs of the imposter syndrome. So are they responding, Nicole, in the chat? Because I can't see it right now, but are we getting responses?
Yep, I dropped for everyone to drop a 1, and we've got tons of 1s in there. And I saw Rita raising her hand, and so nice. I know we've got tons of people feeling that.
No, that's awesome. So in my example of managing the imposter syndrome, I want to share a brief story. The brief story is my beginnings. Before I started at NASA, I worked at McDonald's hamburgers. Right. So I'm working at McDonald's hamburgers because I'm in college. I was in high school and I worked through college. And then after college, I got a BS in logistics and procurement. And so I had applied for all of these wonderful corporations. And the very first one that I accepted actually was for NASA. So in that transition, I went from basically, I want to say, like slinging hamburgers to the next day I'm in a Calvin Klein suit in corporate. And for me, it was like, what did I do to get here? Like, Am I good enough to be here? And I had all of these thoughts of how it should be and what I should be doing. And what I learned in this imposter syndrome is that we all have it within us. They say that 70% of us, 70% of us have this imposter syndrome complex. So how do we combat that? So let me tell you what I researched and found out. They say that first, you should recognize imposter feelings when they emerge. Awareness is always the first step. Second, you should rewrite your mental program in your head. So instead of saying to people that they're going to find out that you don't deserve success, remind yourself that it's normal not to know everything and that you'll find out more as you progress. Also, to talk about your feelings, it's better to talk about your feelings with others instead of keeping it inside alone. To reframe failure as a learning opportunity. Now, that's a big one, right? So it's like reframing the failure as a learning opportunity. Find out the lessons and use them constructively in the future because we all need support. And lastly, I'll say in terms of how to best deal with imposter syndrome is visualize your success. Keep an eye on the outcome of completing the task, which will keep you calm and focused. So I try to be mindful of all of these things. And this is just a part of life that sometimes we all feel, but I just want you to know that you're not alone in that and that it's okay to reach out for others for support.
I love that you're saying this. And, mostly I love the part in saying, you're not alone, because I think Michelle Obama even said that she has imposter syndrome. And so if Michelle Obama has imposter syndrome, it's safe to say that a lot of us have imposter syndrome. And so it's very comforting at times to, know that we're not alone. And I wanted to pose a follow-up question to you here, Lisa. Do you
Sure.
feel that you felt more imposter syndrome or those imposter-like feelings during your time at NASA, or when you started to branch off into this entrepreneurial world?
That's a great question, actually. I think I had more because I was doing a natural transition from college to NASA. That was one element there. But I think for me, I had the greatest fear in taking that leap of faith to pursue my own venture. Because in my case, my family as well, they were saying, Lisa, you have such an incredible opportunity in corporate. You have such a cushy job with all these great perks. And I said, I know. And I loved my job. I did, but I wasn't fulfilled in my spirit. And I think I had it more, I would say, when I took the leap of faith. And that's why sometimes you have to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yes, acknowledge it and move through it, right? Because that's the only way to get past
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
I love it. Thank you.
Hmm.
All right. And so when you first started your career, how did you deal with intimidation in the workforce from coworkers and managers?
So going back to my first experience, keeping in mind that I mentioned that I started at McDonald's hamburgers and now I'm in a suit every day, going into corporate. I used to pray a lot before I used to go in there and say, Lisa, you're good enough. You're here. You made it. They chose you for a reason. Just use your talents. Be pleasant to everybody and to smile. So when I came across opposition or any intimidation is interpretation. Someone can only intimidate you if you interpret it that they are intimidating you. So my perspective was, I belong here. I'm going to take my seat in my fabulous suit with a smile. I'm going to use my talents and I'm going to still keep moving forward. And I think this is where knowledge is power. So the idea that continuing to learn and to grow is so critical in all of our journeys. So I would say, in terms of how I dealt with it, I kept a positive outlook. I kept a great support system that I could talk to when things did not go perfect. And I just kept moving forward in the journey to greatness. I mean, in order to get to significance, you're going to have some challenges along the way, and you keep moving forward. I'll share one quick piece. When I started at NASA, and I had a whole new team and I was there and they introduced me. I felt like, why am I here? Like, what am I doing? So I noticed that I tend to I was looking down at the paper like everybody else was around me. And I remember that one shy moment because I'm normally not shy. And so my supervisor came to me and said, Lisa, this was maybe my first week there. Lisa, we hired you for your talents and because we think you can contribute to the team, but we need you to participate. And I said, I got it. I will step up to the plate, which I did. So I go and register because NASA is now going to pay for my master's degree. I go and register for class. And lo and behold, in the class is my executive director as well. Now, one of the things that Lisa loves to do is to present. So we had a class project. And I go and I'm ready. I get up and get in front of the class. I deliver this presentation and it's flawless. It's great. Well, when my executive director got up for his presentation, he turned extremely red and he started stuttering. He was clamming his hands like this, you all. And I was thinking to myself while I was sitting there, like, wow, look at this. My own direct executive director does not like to speak in public. He gets very nervous. And that was an important lesson to learn that nobody's perfect. Nobody. And we're all a work in progress.
I love that you said that because it is so important, like, because there's so many stages in our lives and in our careers where we come into contact with people who, we perceive to be better than us or to be of more value than us. And really that's the value that we're placing on them, right? Not the value that they kind of put themselves. And so I love that you first started off with that intimidation is interpretation. And so it's really how you're taking the situation and how you confront that.
Exactly.
And I love that story. That's really fantastic. It must have been so humbling to feel like, you had all of these skills that it seemed that somebody who, was essentially like higher ranking than you was lacking. That must have felt so interesting for you.
I felt validated. Like, okay, everybody has different talents. And that's the beauty of aligning with people that have different talents from yourself because you're seeking the best in different areas of support around you. So, I mean, why not leverage it in any way that you can? But that was a moment that I realized that you can be anything, you can do anything, but just know that you're not perfect in everything.
I love it. Absolutely. Sorry, back to mute. Just want to shout out if anyone has any questions or anything, please feel free to write it in the chat, come off of mute. We really want this conversation to be about you. And I know we had a couple people who joined late. And so, Lisa, how do you continue to believe in your dreams when the circumstances and those around you no longer believe?
I think on this particular question, you have to reach within inside yourself. At the end of the day, the beginning of the day, it all starts and ends with you. So I think it's tapping into your own ability to say, I'm going to go and make this happen, whatever it is. It could be a career move, it could be starting a business, it could be so many things. But I think it's just important to know that you are enough to make it happen. And I've had scenarios where I mean, it might have been 8 years into iMail. I wear everything iMail. I got an iMail necklace. I have iMail earrings, everything. Some of my family members, they'll say, Lisa, what's the name of your company again? It might be 8 years in, 10 years in. Some of them don't know. And I find that fascinating. Now, it used to hurt my feelings initially because I just say, wow, how do they not know the name of my company? But that's a real piece of my story. But over time, they now have embraced that ability as well to say, oh, iMail, I know what that is. And regardless if my family saw it or someone that I knew didn't get what iMail was, I believed in my technology. I knew that it could be patent pending. I knew that it could be a global market. And so for someone said to me one time, well, Lisa, why are you trying to put video in an email? What sense does that make? I said, it makes perfect sense to me. It's going to make perfect sense to millions of people. And also, not only that, I gave them another piece. I'm also going to build a global team. Well, how are you going to do that? You're from Montgomery, Alabama. You're a Black female. You're this, you're that. And so I take these type of words and challenges as a challenge to say, let me show you what I can do. Let me go as far as I can to see what I can reach. And so that's like fuel to the fire. So when no one else believes in you, I would say you have to just reach deep within inside yourself to say that you can do it. You need to surround yourself with great mentors and support systems. And when all else fails, for me, what do? I go play a Rocky movie. That's what Lisa does.
I love it. I love it. And I just love your confidence about this and confronting this situation. listening into Chat and Learns and listening into women like you, it really is so helpful because it instills confidence in others who are maybe kind of facing that same thing, whether it's starting their own and their own venture, or whether they're in a position where they're kind of feeling like intimidated or not so confident. So thank you for sharing all of that information. It's really helpful.
Lisa,
And
thank you for being a powerful leader and empowering other women and all of it. I love the way you exude positive energy and sharing your personal story. It's huge. So thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
it's so true. Lisa just has contagious positive energy. It's very, very true. And so, Lisa, we've got some loaded questions here, but I'm really excited to take this, one by one. So, what has been one of the most challenging moments in your career? And was there a point where you were questioning your direction? And what did you do to navigate through it? And, the second part to this question is, what was the pivotal moment that made you realize you need to take the leap of faith and transition to being your own boss? What advice would you have for someone who continually tries to talk themselves out of pursuing their dreams?
Thank you. Thank you for this question, this combo question, because it goes to the core of why we all have a mission, a purpose in life, and tapping into that purpose. And looking at what's been one of the most challenging moments in my career, and I'll combine that with the pivotal moment because it was challenging for me. I had to make the decision whether to stay in corporate or to take a leap on faith. And that was determined by the following set of occurrences. I had received a request from several enterprise brands, 18 brands to be exact, to come and pitch my company iMail in Las Vegas, Nevada, of all places, on a Sunday because it was a national conference. And I'm still in corporate. I'm still in corporate here in Atlanta. And I'm thinking, well, this is my huge opportunity. This might get me out of corporate. I'm going to pitch these 18 companies in one room at one time, from ABC to the Walt Disney Company, to any company you could basically imagine was going to be at this conference. And they selected my company as one of 3 companies nationwide to present. So I take off time from work. I go fly to Vegas. Me and a colleague fly to Vegas. And I'm so excited, get to Vegas and everything. And so I get to the room 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes before time. And I see a colleague of mine that's in the room from the corporation that I'm with at the time. I go to that colleague before I present, and I say to her basically that I'm getting ready to present. I'm not sure if it's a conflict of interest with you being here, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention that I'm speaking on my own company and not on behalf of the enterprise. She says, no problem. I'll just be sitting in there taking notes. So anyway, I deliver a phenomenal presentation, and everybody was sitting there like, wow, what is this iMail? We really need this. We might need this. So about 2 hours later, I get a call from my colleague, the colleague that I went to before the presentation. And she said, Lisa, I just want to let you know that our VP is not happy with you being here and presenting to her colleagues. Who are you to be presenting to her colleagues? So she's not happy with it. And when you get back, she's probably going to have you, investigate it or what. I said, investigate it for what? It's a Sunday on my own time. So nonetheless, I had that playing in my head about the idea that for me doing something on my own, that it was going to create a conflict back when I get back in corporate, because I still at the time needed my corporate job. So when I get back home to Atlanta, I think about the fact of what is going to be my next step. And this was a pivotal moment in time in the history of iMail, deciding what was going to be my next step. And so what got back to me, you all, in summary, was my VP, Microsoft, asked me at that conference to sit at their table. Their table was number 1. What got back to me from my colleagues was, Lisa, she was not happy that you were at table 1 and that the VP was at table 14. Right. And that's what it came down to, is that I was at table 1, she was at table 14. So this was a pivotal moment. I'm like, oh my God. So now she's wondering, what is Lisa doing with Microsoft? So I had to make a pivotal decision, what was going to be my next step. And so I decided that it was my season. If I could go and be strong and present in front of these 18 companies, then I can go and be strong and go represent my own brand. And that was the decision of the pivotal moment and the challenge at the same time of making that decision.
I can imagine how stressful that must have been, and
incredibly stressful.
and also, unfortunate that you couldn't be supported with everything that you were doing, but thankfully it led to everything you're doing today, right? Sometimes some of these biggest challenges in our lives, like you said before, are learning opportunities, right? And things that we can really learn from and grow from. And so if you had a piece of advice for somebody who continually tries to talk themselves out of pursuing their dreams, what would you tell them to keep going through it, or to really go ahead and take that full leap?
I would say, number one, realize that every day is not going to be sunshine and rainbows. If you're thinking every day is going to be a happy, happy day, it's not. So you need to find something to anchor you in the journey, something that keeps you going no matter what. For me, it was my mom. And so no matter where I am, I always, like right now, even right now, I have a picture of my mom with me. You have to find something that means something to the core to you, so that even in the hard times, you're going to stay focused on that dream because you've made a commitment to see it happen. If you have kids, it might be about their future. If you have a dog, it might just be about having more free time to spend with your animal, or whatever the case. It could be anything, but you have to tie your journey to a purpose and a mission to stay focused on the dream. And you can do it.
I love it. And you're getting a lot of praise in the chat. Talking
nice.
It's people are saying it's an amazing story. Congratulations. Mary Griffin writes in here, I'm so proud of you, Lisa. You have come a long way on your journey. And just people saying that they really love what you're saying, and that it's such a powerful story. And it really is. It really is getting to listen to you and think about how you overcame that and really dove head on into everything you're doing and what you've built. It's yes, we got lots of people saying it's inspiring. So thank you for sharing all of that with us, and sharing some of these more vulnerable moments, because I think that those are the keys to really helping people grow, right? Because I think sometimes we see all of these success stories, right? Like, oh, look, I got to the top and I worked really hard, but I made it to the top. You can too. When there's so many things in the middle, and it's like you said, it's not always rainbows and butterflies. Like, there's a lot of really hard stuff in the middle, whether that means staying up all night and working with your team, or not having any sales and saying, what am I going to do this month?
Totally. I mean, it's a jungle out here. It really is a jungle, but it's a navigational path to your greatness. It's a step that has to be made, and you're the one to make that step. So no one else is going to make that step for you. And it's within all of us. It's just a matter of planning the step to move forward and executing the journey. But we all have those moments of thinking, can I do it? But if it's not you, then who? If not now, then when? So seize the moment.
Love it. Oof. Big loaded question coming up next. How do you determine what your dream is, and where do you start?
That's a great question there. So here are my thoughts on how do you determine what is your dream and where do you start? I want you to think about, they always say, what would you do if you could do it for free? If you would wake up in the morning and think about, what gets you excited in the morning when you get started? That's something to help you qualify potentially what your dream is, what comes easy to you to be able to do. It's also exploring different avenues. I mean, you might you might read a book on some different aspects and say, you know what, I have a great interest in learning more in this area. But I think the dream starts with you thinking about what do you enjoy the most. Also, I read that you should think about when you were at the age of 7 years old, at 7, I don't know why it's that specific number, but they say at 7, to think about what is it that you wanted to be when you were 7, aside from maybe, I don't know, it could be anything, but they say go back to your childhood and think about what were you really good at as a child. And then also, Michael, I would love to hear from you on that. Now this is what's interesting. You can't see them now, you all, but I have 2 of my mentors and colleagues with me, right? They're in the room with me right now. So if you see me talking to the side, I just wanted to ask Michael as well. Michael, are you you're live here, or you're here there? Okay. What would you say about that in terms of how do you determine what is your dream and where to start? what would you say? I'm gonna let you all see Michael so you can see that he's real here.
Go slip in here inside. That's enough. So, determining your dream is really where she started back in the process, the Rocky Balboa approach. Where are you going to be successful and where are you going to get bumped? And how are you going to build a niche or something that you really are passionate about?
Mhm.
In Lisa's case, her dream was to fulfill that little small moment of time when she said, I could have been doing something a little different. And there could have been an entirely different result. And then there's that case she shared with us today at NASA that day. And then there's that moment at AT&T. Oh, it wasn't AT&T. It was in Las Vegas when suddenly everything seemed to go wrong.
Right.
How does your dream continue to push you forward? And how do you build a team that helps you push your dream forward? That's it.
Thank you, Michael.
I love it. When I was 7, I really loved to talk, and my parents would probably say that. So I think I've landed on my feet pretty well here.
You're a testimony, absolutely. I love to talk too. I remember that. So yeah, well, look at that. You were 7, Nicole.
Yes. I always thought I would be a lawyer because my parents also said I like to argue, but I think that was just with them, part of growing up with them, right?
Totally.
But that's really interesting because I've never heard that about thinking back to when you were 7 and where, you really wanted to go. So I love that. Awesome. And thanks for mentors there, because I know mentorship is really important to you. And I know we have a question about that. So let's get right to it. So why is it so important to you to celebrate both small and large successes?
The reason it's important to celebrate both large and small successes is because it's a journey. It's a long journey. So you need to be prepared for all aspects of that. I know I'm a personal case where I used to just work all the time around the clock like this. And I never took the time to stop and say, wow, I accomplished this, or I'm the innovator of the year and I won this award. Like I would win the award, I get up and accept it, which it meant a lot. It definitely meant a lot. But my mind was so focused on, but I haven't reached this status in my mind, right? And so what I had to learn to do is to say, once I wrote out, I had an exercise where I had to write out all of my awards, all of my speaking engagements. And it was like over 35 different awards and speaking engagements. And I said to myself, wow, where did all this come from? And it came from the journey. And it's important to take time out to enjoy every single moment. Now, what defines a success? A success could be you had a great meeting. A success could be meeting a new friend, just like I'm meeting all of you all here today. This is wonderful. I consider this a great success. This is a large success today, actually. It really is. And so it's a matter of thinking about, what's important to you in the journey and what's important to you moving forward. I want to share this also in celebrating success. I want you to think about the Wright brothers' flight. So the Wright brothers had their first flight, and it was in some place called Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. I've never been there, but I'm sure it exists somewhere in North Carolina. Derek, have you been there? Okay, you've been. Okay, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. So at 10:35 a.m. on December 17th, 1903, in front of 5 witnesses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the Wright brothers had their first successful flight. Now, this is the amazing part. Guess how long that flight lasted for? The flight lasted for 12 seconds. 12 seconds. And they considered that a successful flight. But you know what's so powerful about that statement? Is that was the first time that a plane was in the air to fly. And today we would be like, 12 seconds, where could we go for 12 seconds? Nowhere. But it's the idea that we all have a beginning, and they celebrated with those 5 people for that whole 12 seconds. And so that's just a testimony to think about in your journey. What are the small things you can be grateful for and to celebrate every single day? That's what I would say, Nicole.
I love it. And now we have to know, how do you celebrate? What do you do to celebrate? Is it a nice meal? Is it a nice glass of wine if you drink wine? What do you do?
So for me, there's so many different things that I do. Now, depending on what type of celebration it is, this is what I'll do. Now, this drives my boyfriend nuts, but what I'll do, if I have a really great celebration and something great has really happened, I will be in the car and it'll feel like Christmas to me. So I might start playing Christmas music. Who knows? I'll be unconventional and do anything. It could be anything. So I'll play Christmas music and it could be July. It doesn't matter. It's about the idea that it felt like Christmas to me and I was in the mood for some holiday cheer. And also, I remember last year, even before the pandemic, I didn't get a chance to spend time with my goddaughter to help her color Easter eggs. So now it was like August, but I had just won an award or something major happened with our technology. And so we used the month of August or a day in August to go color those Easter eggs. And we had the best time. So I consider that part of my celebration too. So I believe it's in the diversity of thinking about each celebration can be different. No one can judge you because it's your life. And to celebrate the large and the small things.
So true. And it is the constant difficulty of being an overachiever, right? I find
Yes.
myself in that same position. I do one thing or something's really great and it works. And I'm like, okay, but what's next? Like, that's not enough for me. How can I be better? What can I do better? And it really is such a curse sometimes because it doesn't really allow you to enjoy the moments, which that's really all you have in life are these moments, and
that's all we
really
have
enjoy
are
these.
the moments. Exactly, Nicole. That's all we have are the moments. And so when you're thinking about your moments now, while we're in session right now, I want you to think about what's the next thing you want to accomplish. It doesn't have to be to cure the world of everything, but it's like, what is it for you that you want to see happen in your journey next? Absolutely.
I love it. And we have some people writing in the chat. Somebody said that celebrating the small successes is crucial to staying motivated, which I certainly agree. And just people agreeing with that and that they write all this down that they're doing. I know I've started doing that as well. That's been a tip of mine, like throughout the day, going through and writing down everything I'm doing. Because I think, especially if you're an overachiever, and I'm sure, Lisa, you can talk about this, but you get to a point where you feel like you haven't done anything because you're so on the move and you feel like you need to keep going all day. And so when you get to the end of the day, it can feel like you didn't do anything, even especially if you've just been like, responding to emails all day or
right.
hopping on calls.
Right. It's definitely a journey. And the day goes by so fast. It's like 24 hours and it's like I'm up like 19 hours a day. That's just my average. But it's like you just have to maximize the time, but take time out for yourself as well, just to breathe. Breathing is so important, just to take time out, to go in and out and just to be in the moment.
Yes, it really, really is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know you're talking about mentorship and how important it is, and you've got your mentors there with you. So now, what steps did you take to find a mentor, and where did you start? And did you seek it out, or did somebody offer to mentor you or find you and approach you?
What's interesting about this question for me is that I've met so many wonderful people in my journey that have naturally migrated where I've migrated to them, or they naturally migrated to me. And so for me, I'm trying to think about an answer that will also help other people. I'm trying to think of how I best did it. I have attended different type of events, networking events where I didn't know a soul. I think it's important to step out of your comfort zone. It's very important to step out of your comfort zone to meet new people. Now, you might say, how am I going to meet new people and it's a pandemic and we're all inside? Well, what I've learned since we started this journey here with the new status quo at the moment is that there are a lot of online free Zooms, webinars, educational forums where you can go on these forums and you'll see someone in the chat. Like it's right, it might be someone right now that you would like to meet, or I would even copy the screen, right? And look at the names like Carolyn and Jane and Rita. And then I would go look them up on LinkedIn and say, I saw you on Power to Fly. I would love to further connect. That person might be able to also be a friend or a colleague that ends up referring you to someone else that could be a mentor. And I like to start with what is a mentor at a core essence. So they say, according to Webster, a mentor is an experienced or trusted advisor. And I personally have I personally have 15 mentors. Now, 2 of them are with me today, and I have several of them on this call, actually. If you're a mentor and you know you're a mentor, please give a reaction of some sort on this chat today so people can see the support, like Richard and Vita, and I mean, Patricia. It's so many of you all on the call, and I appreciate the support. It starts with building relationships. Um, Outside of your comfort zone. It's like being a friend to someone, understanding what they need as well. But I would love to hear, I want you all to hear from one of my mentors as well. Like Maurice, is a Maurice Evans on the line? I can't tell if Maurice is on. Maurice, if you're on, come off mute if you're there. If not,
I'm here. Lisa, can you hear me?
awesome. Hi, Maurice.
Hi, Lisa Jones.
So you all, I want you all to meet Maurice Evans. Maurice Evans is many things, from a colleague, a friend, a mentor, a partner, an investor. He's a support system within himself. He's a retired NBA player as well. Now, Maurice, why are you not on camera? You're somewhere where we can't see you?
Yeah, I didn't want to distract from your awesome and motivational, inspiring answers. So I'm here. Unfortunately, I can't come off in the photo.
Okay. You're great. You're good. You're good there. So I wanted to pose this question to you as well, in terms of, I would love your input on like what steps to find a mentor, in terms of like you and I connected. We didn't know each other and we connected, and somehow we stayed in contact over the years. And Maurice lives in Houston, Texas. So I'm in Atlanta. So I would love you to share insights with everyone here on this particular question. That would be awesome.
Sure, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. But first of all, again, first and foremost, great job, great authentic answers. I love that you share your spirit and share your story. And this in itself is mentorship to so many, and it's rich and it's authentic. But Lisa and I's journey is, our path has intersected so many different times. We both started out going to the $1 billion roundtable. That's, I think it's grown to 26 or 28 companies that spend in excess of $1 billion annually with women and minority-owned companies. And I just seen that radiant spirit that you all are hearing. And I just remember her bubbly personality speaking in the background to different people. I'm like, who is this person that, I need to go meet? And Lisa, what's so great is she's so intentional. Everywhere she goes, she just drops nuggets and deposits, even if it's just in a simple encounter, not even a business transaction or business dealing. So once we became friends, and it grew into partnership. And one thing that I shared with her about mentorship for me that's important is that I shared with her, just as she said, a mentor is an advisor. So it's someone who gives us what I refer to as air, advice, insights, and recommendations. And not all air is clean. We need clean air to breathe, to live on. So you want to also make sure that when you get those mentors, they don't have hidden agendas, hidden motives. And unfortunately, Lisa and I have shared a lot of in our journey where we've had people who we thought authentically wanted to mentor to us that always didn't have the right motives. But in the same way, we've been blessed to have so many different people impact us on our journey, because they did give us clean air, the clean advice, insights, and recommendations that's helped us to evolve. And I'm just thankful to be a part of her journey, because mentorship is also, it works both ways. One person can share insights and share on their journey that helps motivate, inspire, and encourage you. But Lisa motivates, inspires, encourages me every single day. So I've been blessed to have her as a friend and as a sister. So thank you for letting me share, Lisa.
Absolutely. Thank you for the insights.
And, Lisa, from the first time I met you, I was attracted to your contagious energy. So I can just imagine what other people have seen in you and how easy it is to be attracted to you as a mentee, especially because of your willingness to learn, right? I think that's something that's a key here as well, being open to learning and taking in feedback, and, referring to what Maurice was saying about not accepting all the air that comes your way, because not all advice and not all suggestions are things that you really need to take into account, and being able to filter out what is really valid advice and really who's actually interested in your benefit and your growth without ulterior motives.
Definitely. It's all so important.
All right. I love it. Well, thank you so much for, having this amazing support system that's supporting you here today. It's fantastic. And so, you took your leap of faith and you had that pivotal moment that really pushed you to take that leap of faith. how did you know that you were making the right decision to take such a big leap of faith? And do you have any advice for someone who's just done that, especially now during coronavirus when there's still a lot of uncertainty in the air?
Right. Uncertainty is around all of us for sure. I think in a lot of cases you don't know you're making the right decision. That's sometimes part of the beauty of the unknown. It's the fear factor, but it's planning for it as well. It's making sure that financially you have, if it's possible, to have your resources aligned financially to take the leap. And if those don't happen, it's about also having that support system that can guide you to resources. So for anyone who has just taken the leap, I would say it's important to stay laser focused. Do not receive any negative energy. I would even say if you feel frustrated, sometimes light a candle or go look at the trees. Like I've learned now, in my 20s, I wouldn't have done this. In my 30s, I wouldn't have done it. But like now, I will go and just relax. I'll try to relax to get my me time in and just watch the way that trees sway, how it doesn't worry about anything. It just is. And it's okay with just being as is and taking a break from the grind, because we all have a grind in what we're seeking to accomplish. So I would say stay focused on what you're doing, continue to build your network, connect with as many people as possible, and stay the course of the journey, and it will work out. It will definitely work out.
And especially if you're speaking positivity into the world, you don't always get positivity back, but you do have a better chance of it than if you're speaking negativity into the world.
Totally.
And so, Lisa, we have just about 6 minutes left, unfortunately, because I'm loving this conversation. I know I don't want it to end, and people are really, really impacted by your positive spirit. But I know that you had key takeaways from today. And so I want to head over to that very quickly. So, I can give you time to share that. And so I'm passing the mic right over to you.
Oh, thank you, Nicole. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here again with all of you all. I want to mention one other point as well, for someone who has taken the leap. Never be afraid to ask for help. I used to have that challenge in my beginning of asking for help, but it's so important to just open your mouth, even if it's to a friend, and say, you know what, I'm struggling with X, to be authentic and to be vulnerable. So I just want to share that piece with you all as well. So let's look at the key takeaways before we end our session. I hate that the session is ending because I'm so enjoying getting to see your faces and this connection that we have in the midst of the current environment. So let's look at these key takeaways. One, as we discussed, take the time to celebrate the large and the small successes. I want you to think about what these successes are to you and what they mean specifically to you. And what's so cool about this slide is I created this slide for you all today. This is the first time I've ever created a takeaway slide to say, what is it that I feel in my spirit? So this is coming from me authentically, that has worked for me, and you can adapt your own list. But I think there's power in being able to see your words written and brought to life. So number two, I would say, when you get lonely, connect with successful images. Remember, I had a photo of my mom. I got a 6-foot Rocky Balboa poster at home, a cut up actually of him standing there. So he has his hands like this, and no matter what, thank you. And no matter what, he has his hands ready. So even if I have a bad day and I'm crying, I still see Rocky standing there saying I can do it. And so take on the challenge, get around successful images and around people that support you. I would also say own it, realize that you are enough and that you deserve every success. We all do. And it's our season to claim it. It definitely is. One of my favorites, realize that every day won't be sunshine and rainbows. Seek mentorship from multiple diverse sources. One of my ex-bosses actually is a mentor. So just because you have executive leadership doesn't mean that they can't be a mentor. You just got to find the right ones, because there are some bad apples out there too, but go find you some good ones from diverse sources, all ages. You can even learn something from people that are younger than you as well. It's your season to make it happen. We all know that. Build a solid, efficient, lean team. One of the things that IMEL has been successful at doing is we have such talented people on our team from around the world. We have resources in India, in Canada, and I'm not sure if Lyle is online from IMEL Canada as well, but we have such a great team, but we're lean, but we're highly effective in what we deliver. So I would say build with a lean team and keep growing. Be unconventional and happy. Remember, I said I played Christmas music in July. Who says that I can't play Christmas music if I want to hear it? I can do that, right? Somebody give me a thumbs up or something on that. Can I be unconventional? I love it. I love it. Okay. So, right. So be happy. Fake it until you make it. There's not going to be every scenario where you are 100% fully driven and focused on what you're doing. So sometimes you just have to just put on a smile and go for it and give it your best. You can do that. Increase your network, step out of your comfort zone, talk less and listen more. Now, this is very critical. Talking less and listening more. I have had more success out of my life from living by this one principle alone. Seek to understand others before they come to understand you. Get to know them. Get to know what's of interest to them. Get to know about their personal, their family lives if possible, but definitely speak less and listen more. Wouldn't you all agree?
Amen.
Agreed.
Okay, I hope y'all heard that too. All right. So commit to your vision. Whatever your vision is, I want you to just totally embrace it and say, this is my vision. And if no one else gets it, it's fine. And if no one else gets it, this is what I used to do. When no one else got what I was doing, this is what I do. I put on my IML shades and do this, Nicole. I do this. You know why? Because I'm psyching myself out. It's not about what anybody else thinks. It's about what you think about you. And if I choose to have IML on my shades, that's nobody's prerogative but Lisa. So I want you to own that. And lastly, I would say find an inspiration. Whatever it is to you, I want you to go out 100%, find that inspiration, keep it near and dear to you to go seek and fly.
Well, I think I speak for a lot of people when I say, I think I found my inspiration today in you, Lisa. And you are getting so much praise in the chat. People are saying they feel energized, that you have contagious energy. I will send all of this to you afterwards because there's so much that I know you can't read.
What they're saying. I would love to see their feedback for sure. That's awesome.
Yes, yes. And so I really want to thank you, Lisa, for such an incredible conversation. I know there's some stuff we didn't get to, but I think you did a really great job of presenting actionable steps and, making people feel like these things are possible. So with that, I'm just going to drop your LinkedIn for people to connect and the link to iMail so that everyone can connect with you and follow up there. And I highly encourage everyone to go visit the website and check out Lisa's product. And Lisa, is there anything else that you want to send us off with today?
I want to send everyone off with, I want to say thank you all. I see all of you here now. I can see your faces. And I just want to say, I'm not going to get emotional today. No. I want to say thank you. I think every moment in the journey matters. And you have to be full of gratitude for everything, large and small. And for me, you all taking time out of your day to be here, to listen to me speak, and to engage means a lot. It means a lot to me. And I just want to say thank you. And I just want you to know that no matter what it is, you can do it. No matter what it is, you can reach it. And I'm a living testimony and a work in progress because we all are a work in progress. And I just want to say that you all are all rock stars. And I thank you so much for being here today and to stay focused on your dream and your vision.
Thank you, Lisa. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Jane.
Yes, we do. So thank you so much for such an amazing chat. I will send you all of this feedback over. And thank you everyone for being here today for another fantastic chat and learn. And I look forward to seeing you on another one. So have an awesome non-2020 day. Stay safe, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.